Okay, some key points that we want to make in this presentation are that risk management for project managers is not optional by any stretch of the imagination. I hope I'm preaching to the choir. I hope you all are accepting that point. If we don't do risk well, there is no way we can be proactive on our projects. There is no way that we can issue PMI's favorite type of change request, a preventive change request. If you haven't identified possible negative risks that could harm your project, cause budget overruns, cause schedule delays, cause problems meeting requirements for quality, requirements for scope and such. If you haven't identified negative risks, if you haven't put together strategies for handling those and such, then there is no way you can be proactive. Risk also helps us very much in all the other knowledge areas. Risks assists what we're doing in all the other knowledge areas. If we do risk well, then we're going to get better estimates of time and cost. We'll protect those estimates using contingency reserves, which are based on analyzing risks. We'll analyze all our documents. We'll make sure we haven't left anything out, that things are written well, they're complete, that they're smart. So risk is absolutely essential. In this presentation, we're going to focus on three of, I think, the key risks that do hit projects, and all these do hit our project right at the beginning of the project, and things that we must successfully manage and handle right at the beginning of the project. Many of our risks on projects are things that can come about at the beginning of the project, but the three we're going to go into are definitely that. And then we're going to talk about how we would deal with some of these risks with traditional project management, and then what Agile brings to the table and how Agile can help us more successfully handle those risks too. And as I said before, again, there is no one perfect methodology. So we're going to talk a little bit more about when do we want to use Agile and when is the predictive planning, a waterfall method, more appropriate in some cases. Another key point to make is that Agile is not just a nice set of cool tools, nice tools for the project team, the project manager, so they can do their projects better. Oh, no, no, no. Agile is really much more broad than that. Agile should really be used for product management, for program management, even at higher levels for portfolio management. We really need to send our executives, our senior managers, to this training so that they understand that. And they also understand that for Agile to be successful, they're going to have to play a bigger role. They're going to have to be much more involved. There's going to be much more frequent communications with them. They're going to be much more deeply involved in these projects than they would be in the traditional world if this is all going to work. And they're also going to have to provide a culture, a climate for freedom and trust to allow the project teams or anybody doing Agile to succeed. There has to be more trust. There has to be more freedom. They've got to buy into that and help provide that too. So, key point that we're making there. Again, if we're good at project management, we're thinking about risks right from the get-go of the project. We're probably putting together a risk breakdown structure to help us ensure we don't leave anything out. So hierarchically break down all sorts of different categories of risk. And I happen to like this template for a risk breakdown structure a lot. And prior to reading Doug DeCarlo's book, Extreme Project Management, I always started my risk breakdown structure with risks at the top, and then the next level down I would go break down to internal risks and external risks. Well, I like the way Doug DeCarlo did it much better. In his book, I thought that was a better idea, so I'm leveraging off his idea. I'm stealing his idea. And he starts this way. So we're breaking down risks first into business risks. So the risks of profit or loss, oftentimes what senior management's most focused on. Do we think we can pull this off? Can we be successful? Can we make a profit? Or on the other hand, are we going to lose our shirt? Are we trying to enter into a very tough competitive landscape? Is the economy very tough? Is it a highly regulated environment? That type of thing would be looked at inside of looking at the business risks. And then there are product risks or technical risks for meeting scope, for meeting quality. Have we done this before? Do we have the talent? Do we have the skill sets? Can we pull this off, building this type of product or creating this new service and meeting the right scope requirements, the right quality requirements? So look at product risks, look at technical risks. And then there are project risks. Is this project very tightly constrained? Are there tight constraints on schedule, tight constraints on cost, tight constraints on resources? Do we have the right project manager with the right experience? That's a key project risk. So there's always that. And then there's organizational risks and political risks that we should also be paying attention to. And a lot of us, we project managers, sometimes don't like doing that. We don't want to get into the politics of things, but we must. And we must realize what these things are too. We're creating something new, yes? Does everybody like new? No, of course not. Our new project, we're creating something new, and other people could be losing power. They could be losing influence because of our project. They're not going to be for us. And sometimes a lot of people just resist change. The old guard doesn't understand. Why do we have to change? What's wrong with the old way? I like the old way. Why can't we do it the old way? So some people are always digging in their heels and resisting change. We'd better figure that out too. So in this modern world with much tougher competition, global competition, much more volatility in requirements, much more volatility with what we're trying to achieve. Tom Friedman's Age of Accelerations. It seems to be more and more commonplace that our projects start out red. The dashboard is red to begin. We haven't even started and we're already behind schedule. The customer had to have this yesterday. And we're not really clear on whether we have the right funding. We don't have enough funding, or how we're going to get the resources on the project, how we're going to get the right resources on the project. If we can't get the right resources, we're toast right out of the gate. There's no way we're going to be successful. Maybe we know going in there are going to be some difficult stakeholders and stakeholder engagement issues, management issues, or the customer and sponsor really haven't figured out exactly what it is they want. Again, a key business risk. Everything is very half-baked and mushy. If we proceed that way, we're also on very, very thin ice. And if this is going to fail unless we can get the business purpose, the benefit that we're going to be creating, and make sure that's established and that's clear. Because if we don't, we're going to fail. And who's going to take the blame? You are. The project manager is, not the sponsor, not the senior manager. So things are tough, and oftentimes some of these key risks that hit us at the beginning of the project. Sometimes, again, it's just a half-baked idea. So I think this slide here brings a new meaning to the phrase, a wing and a prayer. So this was a real design for an airplane about the time of the Wright brothers in the first decade of the 20th century. And so sometimes we're starting out with these half-baked ideas. Again, sometimes we're given the impossible project, impossible constraints, and we have no idea how we're really going to succeed. And we're just putting together our schedule nonetheless, and then somewhere out near the end of the flowchart for the project, or near the end of the schedule for the project, there's this little magic box that says, and then a miracle occurs. And so one in this cartoon that we've all known and seen many times before and love, one project manager is talking to the other and is pointing at this box where it says, then a miracle occurs, and says, oh, I love everything in your schedule here. Everything looks good except for in this box. I think we need to do a little more work here. So here are the three main risks that we want to talk about in the presentation here. So here they are. Number one is having a vague, ambiguous scope statement, not doing scope well. So that's number one. Number two and number three come to us from an excellent presentation, an excellent paper that was done actually a couple of decades ago. The author was Gopal Kapoor, so Gopal, Gopal, and then his last name was Kapoor, Kapur, and he wrote an excellent paper called 10 Dumb Mistakes That Project Managers Make. The number one mistake is number three on the list here, allowing half-baked ideas to survive. And his number two mistake was not keeping senior management in the loop. So let's talk about all three of these, and additionally then we'll talk about how do we solve the problem, how do we deal with these risks with traditional methods, predictive planning, waterfall, PMBOK guide methods, and how do we deal with these risks with agile methods.